Amazing, thanks Vinishree. And again, yeah, Lesley and Erin, it'd be interesting to hear about where that, I guess, specific piece of work came from and how you've reviewed language, or yeah, another example of a project where improving the language that you use, for example, has been kind of central. That'd be really interesting.
So we have a group of young people in Inverclyde called Proud to Care, who are all care experienced, and there's been different kids over the years, but the group's been on the go for about 7 years, and they work on different pieces of work, and one of them was around language. And they had a jargon buster, so like every meeting we went to, with whether that was with the workforce or with families or with children, young people themselves, we would explore like words that they didn't like, and maybe an alternative word. And on occasion they didn't have the alternative word yet, so this was over maybe close to a year probably in producing the kind of list of words that they wanted to change and what the alternative could be. Some of it wasn't as simple as just replacing with one single word. It was, you know, a few words would then explain the word that they had chosen not to use. So we had kind of took it on tour, if you like, around Inverclyde with children, young people, our families, our workforce, to then generate a kind of jargon buster of the language that they didn't want to use anymore, that they felt was stigmatising, was uncaring. Our young people are recovering from trauma, and a lot of the language that we're using, it was triggering further traumas within them and their families. So they then produced some posters that displayed like the different words, which were then displayed across our social work buildings, and their Language Matters guide. They also then worked alongside a lady who helped them produce a film around language and stigma in language, which was then showcased again around our workforce. As Lesley and I have been attending meetings or just kind of around the workforce and having conversations, and including our young people, we can hear the differences. So we know, we can hear when they're not saying contact anymore, they're saying family time. And I suppose our young people feel that empowerment as well, because they've been involved in this piece of work, so they'll often correct us. Sometimes we'll slip as well, and they will correct us that there's an alternative word that they would like to be used within their care.
Just in relation to some of the language as well, we often talk about within our residential houses, they were referred to as units, and there's been a lot of work around for workers that have been here a long time, including myself. I used to use the words in the phrase children's units, and I've now very much used children's houses, and that's what our young people talk about in the film. That's their house, they live there, and they have lived there for a number of years, and it shouldn't be referred to as a unit. So it's so important. The other example that I hadn't thought about, and I have been in social work for over 20 years in terms of a social worker, I would go along to meetings, and they would be discussing about respite. And we had a young person that attended a meeting, and respite was spoken about throughout the whole meeting. She didn't know what respite was and what it meant, and when she came out, she googled it. And if you ever get the chance to Google it, have a wee look. It states to remove yourself from something distasteful or unpleasant, and that young person internalised that. So we need to be really careful, and as Erin stipulated at the beginning, language is so powerful, and so we have to be really careful about how we move forward. So lots more feeling involved in it, which is definitely the way forward, and I think we can learn from that in terms of how we are writing case notes as social workers and social work assistants and things as well. So I think there's a lot more still to come, lots more progress to be made.